If you love weather or you just need a really detailed weather forecast, this is your video. Hi everyone, it is weather for Weather Geeks time on this Tuesday evening, the 12th day of June, 2018. It turned out to be a pretty cloudy day today, but the morning was beautiful. I mean, just comfortable and bright and sunny, but the clouds did roll in this afternoon. We'll talk about our local weather in a lot of detail, and we'll kind of stray away from our local area and show you a few cool things this evening. First of all, the temperatures, also a story today. Yesterday was a cooler than average day. In fact, we had two cooler than average days in a row, Sunday and Monday, but today was much more typical of the season. We made it into the upper 70s this afternoon, just a couple of degrees above our average for the 12th day of June, so it was not a bad day. The humidity started to creep up. Those dew points did sneak into the 60s today, and we do have a warm front trying to push across the region this evening, and well, with that, when I recorded this video at 7-Eleven, we did have a couple of sprinkles and showers in places such as Beloit and Salem and Sebring and Alliance. Down towards Lisbon, a couple of showers around as well. All this is pushing, I'll put a loop on this, this is all pushing to the north and east. Again, most of this is pretty light, just kind of a nuisance if you happen to be out and about right before sunset this evening. The dew points continue to be elevated. After a little break from the humidity last night and first thing this morning, we've seen dew points rise into the mid-60s here this afternoon. Look how much territory is covered by the juicy, juicy air across the eastern two-thirds of the country. So it is muggy, not just locally, but in a lot of places. Severe weather threat this evening, panhandle of Oklahoma and panhandle of Texas as well. I want to show you a couple of cool high-res visible satellite shots this evening. First of all, the convection over the high plains states. Check out the overshooting tops on these thunderstorms. These are parts of the updrafts that shoot higher than the rest of the storm. And in fact, sometimes these updrafts even escape the troposphere and head into the stratosphere in the most extreme cases. But sometimes these overshooting tops can get up to 60,000 feet or so, especially out there in the high plains. I want to show you also a visible satellite loop if it'll load. My data connection seems to be kind of wanky this evening. Yeah, not going to load. I want to show you some wildfires out across the Four Corners region this evening, picked up by the visible satellite, but the data is not going to load, so never mind. All right, I showed you this last night. It was Hurricane Bud. Looked more impressive on the satellite presentation last evening, but this is still a Category 3 storm in the eastern Pacific. This is all west of Mexico, which of course is right here. Here's the Baja of California. And Bud will weaken fairly rapidly as this starts finally moving. It's barely moving now, but as it picks up a little forward speed off to the north by later this week, it'll weaken down into a tropical storm and a tropical depression. What this will do is bring some of the most significant moisture in a long time to parts of the southwestern U.S. So this will bring some rains to Arizona, New Mexico, perhaps even southeastern California as well. All right, back here at home. Here's what we expect for tomorrow. There can be a shower at just about any point tomorrow. It's going to be a very muggy day tomorrow. It's not going to be a real hot day because the clouds will win the battle a lot of the time, but it's going to be very muggy. And that kind of air mass, there could be a shower just about any time, but there'll be plenty of dry time as well. Now, as we get into the afternoon tomorrow, a front heads our way. It's a pretty strong front. Now, with all the moisture in place and strong front heading our way, you'd think this would be a pretty big setup for, a pretty good setup, I should say, for severe weather. Not necessarily the case. The dynamics, the supports that this front has upstairs in the atmosphere aren't great tomorrow. So while we do have a chance for some heavy gusty storms, I'm not real enthused about a widespread severe weather event tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center does have the slight risk, basically from Youngstown south and east. My gut feeling is they'll trim this some. With tonight's update at about 1 in the morning, slight risk maybe more like that. And I kind of suspect they'll trim a little off the northwest side of this. I'm just not real impressed with the setup tomorrow. Now, the atmosphere will be very unstable. It's going to be steamy. Dew points will be near 70. And so the instability is not the problem. The problem is more so with like I said, some of the meteorological elements aloft aren't real great for a big-time severe weather event for tomorrow. I can't rule out a little small hail in some of these stronger storms tomorrow afternoon if they fire up. I don't think there's large damaging hail, but some small hail. An outside possibility if we do get a couple of taller updrafts. All right, as we go through the rest of the week, boy, it's going to be nice Thursday and Friday. As muggy as tomorrow is going to be, dew points are going to crash on Thursday, probably down into the 50s, and it's going to feel great. If you remember how it felt this morning, it's going to feel like that Thursday morning and Friday morning as well. A couple of beautiful days coming up with high pressure anchored over the region. Our story as we go into the Father's Day weekend is going to be the heat. If you remember what it felt like a lot of the period around Memorial Day, this is what we're going to see. We haven't seen this in a few weeks. But heat index values, when you combine the air temperatures with those elevated dew points, could be up in the mid-90s Sunday afternoon, and I suspect Monday will be just as bad, if not worse. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some triple-digit heat index values recorded across the region on Monday, with air temperatures probably around 92 and dew points well up into the 60s. That's going to be a pretty stifling day, probably the most uncomfortable day we've had so far this season. As far as rain goes for the Father's Day weekend, largely dry, I think. Now, there's an outside chance that we get a couple of complexes of storms riding atop the big ridge that'll be dominating the weather. Sometimes we call these ridge runners. They just cascade over the top of the ridge and then come down through the Great Lakes. I can't rule out one or two of those perhaps impacting our region over the weekend, but it's a low confidence thing right now, and certainly I wouldn't want to try to time that sort of thing this far out. But something that we want to keep in mind as we go towards the weekend. It may not be totally dry. I suspect it's largely dry, though, and again, the story is the heat. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here tomorrow evening, and I'll have a full update on the radar and everything else you need to know tonight on 21 News at 11 o'clock.